Hello and welcome to this latest webinar in Action's Legacy Data Warehouse Modernization series. Today's presenter is Raghu Chakravarthi, our Senior Vice President of Engineering and our Chief Product Officer. If you have questions to ask, please enter them using the chat function on the right of your screen, and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. Any questions we don't get to, we'll follow up in email after the event. With that, I'll hand over to you, Raghu.
Thanks for taking the time today to listen to my talk on Rethinking Teradata Migration, 7 Real-World Secrets to Success. So many of you have been thinking about migrating out of Teradata and other legacy data warehouses probably. And some of you must have attempted it, and some of you must have failed. Well, we've come to the realization it's not easy to migrate out of Teradata by now. But some of the reasons you might be thinking about is because in the past few years, we have had a big data revolution with focus on the cloud, data federation, and data science. This has made the traditional data warehouse practices such as batch processing, ETL, curation into a central data warehouse a thing of the past. What my customers are telling me is that they prefer a hybrid data architecture that helps them eliminate data silos, that provides for an elastic but cost-effective solution in the cloud as well as on-prem, and a platform that enables guaranteeing SLAs on exponentially growing data. So today, what I'm going to do is share some of the real-world secrets with you in terms of how to migrate from Teradata into a modern elastic hybrid cloud data warehouse like the one that Actian provides in Actian Avalanche. So let's get started. A quick introduction. I am Raghu Chakravarthi. I have a long pedigree in data and data warehousing systems. Currently, I am the Chief Product Officer here at Actian, where we build Avalanche, which is a highly scalable data warehouse for the hybrid cloud. Previously, I was the GM and the Vice President of Engineering at Teradata for the database and the advanced analytics Aster business. Prior to Teradata, I was at Oracle via the Hyperion acquisition, where I worked on multi-dimensional databases like Essbase. So pretty much, I've been in the data and the data warehousing space for a while now. If your passion is data and analytics, please connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I do share a lot of insights as I learn them from our customers and partners, and I'm pretty active both on LinkedIn and Twitter. Let's start with a quick introduction to Actian and what we do and what we offer our customers in terms of products and platforms, and also strategies that we give to our customers to migrate from these legacy systems into a modern architecture. Actian's based in Palo Alto, California, here in the heart of Silicon Valley. We have been around for over 20 years, and our expertise ranges from databases, which is both online as well as analytical, and data integration products, all the way to the edge, where we have an embedded database that helps our customers really realize the value all the way from the edge into the cloud. We have over 3,000 customers around the world, both in Fortune 100 as well as in SMBs, that trust us with some of their really mission-critical workloads that help run their business and realize value from the data that they are generating. At Actian, we hang our hat on our performance capabilities compared to any of the on-prem as well as cloud data warehouse solutions that exist out there. And we have over 53 patents that we possess to really prove our technology out to our customers. Teradata migration is definitely not easy. Like I mentioned earlier, many Teradata migration attempts have failed due to a lot of reasons. Most of the Teradata installations have existed for 10 or more years, typically, and has built a lot of tech debt over the years, which makes it really hard to yank out. Design paradigms like workload management, proprietary data structures, custom scripting worked for administrators 10 years ago for an on prem deployment, but they are really not relevant anymore in the current elastic cloud based environments. Plus, Teradata on prem is still a highly scalable and a highly performant database, and you need a replacement data warehouse that can really match the performance and the scale that Teradata provides, yet give you the cost benefits that you're looking for. You need a partner in all of this who can help you navigate through this journey, and at Actian, we promise to be exactly that partner. So, to the real meat of things now, let's get into the real world secrets in terms of what it takes to migrate out of Teradata. So, there are 7 real important things that you got to consider to be successful. So, let's start with the first one. The most important step is obviously to choose the right platform to migrate to. Our customers are saying scale, performance, and the cost are the most important criteria for them. But one important decision point is the proven expertise to migrate, which reduces the coefficient of friction, in my opinion, thus lending themselves to straightforward automated migration. So look for somebody who has a proven expertise in doing so. The next one is the assessment part and the migration part. Typically, documentation of the Teradata environment would be lacking and would have been done by someone who did this years ago, and a lack of usage details can really hamper the migration. The migration must include a automated assessment tool that can identify specific queries, Teradata scripts, and custom code that is submitted to the Teradata environment. And the migration tool should help convert that to the target data warehouse like an Avalanche. At least 90% of these artifacts should be automatically migrated. And at Actian, what we provide is a schema assessment and a migration tool that helps with this kind of automation. Over 75% of data migrations fail from Teradata or run over budget. So I would say don't go down this path alone. Choose the right SI partner. They are the ones who can actually guide you through and help you with this whole migration thing. At Actian, we partner with the leading SIs who provide proven expertise in this conversion, and we really partner with them to help you get through this migration. Use the automated schema and the migration tool, like I talked about earlier, in the code migration tool to actually perform the migration. Typically, about 90% of the assessed SQL, stored procedures, and UDF code would migrate automatically if you use such a tool, but the last 10% would need some manual migration. And this is why you need a proven SI partner to help you perform these manual migration steps. The next critical one is to build a target environment, such as the one that you can build with the Avalanche. So in this thought process, what I would say is instead of duplicating the way you built the Teradata environment by buying for the peak loads, build the target environment so that you buy enough for the migration and then elastically scale for the future. So make sure that your target can elastically scale up as you need to expand. And that way you can plan for the future, but buy what you need to buy right now. Then comes the actual data extraction and the loading part. Here you would ingest the schema, data, and validate the migrated data using the actual coding exercise that you did. And last but not the least, the modernization exercise. A lot of migration fail because many migration projects intertwine migration with modernization. They get bundled into a single exercise, which is the typical symptom for failure. Successful migrations have always been performed with the migration first and then modernization, which might include how to optimize, build new data pipelines, and then really scale your data warehouse for your future needs. So let's get into some of the details of each one of these critical steps to make it a successful migration. The first one, as I mentioned earlier, is to choose the right platform. I just wanted to give you a comparison chart of how a modern cloud hybrid data warehouse like Avalanche can really match up against Teradata and its valued strengths and really provide a viable solution for you to migrate from Teradata so you can go to the hybrid cloud. The key things to look for is how you can manage and match Teradata's performance. With Avalanche or a provider as such, we can provide up to a 10x higher performance built on scalable commodity hardware if it's on prem and really matched the appliance capabilities that Teradata provides. Obviously, as you're thinking about migration, you're thinking about a hybrid solution. And Avalanche really offers that hybrid capability where you can execute a lot of workloads on prem, but also extend and offload some of the workloads to the multiple cloud environments, whether it's AWS or Azure, in a managed service. With that comes the lower TCO. And at Avalanche, we are able to offer 50% lower OPEX when compared to Teradata, and also a predictable migration path, which is really important as you make your choice for the Teradata replacement. And with our schema and data migration tool that we provide, we are able to migrate 90% of the queries that execute in Teradata, whether from the downstream or upstream systems, and they can be converted automatically. And the rest of the 10% can be performed by a partner, like an SI partner that we partner with. The second is to really choose a data platform which provides for an automated assessment and a migration tool. This tool is really needed because, like I said earlier, a lot of the development happened in Teradata maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago. And a lot of this, the queries as well as the configurations, is not documented well. So you really need an automated tool to assess the source Teradata system, identify all of the tables and the other artifacts that exist, and help convert data types that needs to map to the target system. You also need to identify what were the queries that were submitted to Teradata from various systems, whether it's a BI tool or an ETL process or even data load utilities, and analyze them to see if they are compatible, and if not, make automated changes to the queries so you can really build a target system away from Teradata, which handles the queries without really having to make changes to the upstream or downstream tools and utilities. The migration tool also helps convert the DDL, the scripts, like BT scripts, stored procedures, and UDFs that might be defined in the Teradata system to the target system like an Avalanche, right? It also helps identify artifacts that need some manual migration because, like I said, 90% can be converted automatically, but a few need to be manually migrated because of the complexity involved. And it's really key that we identify these artifacts up front so we can really plan and do a manual migration of these scripts. And also, the tool on the migration side helps perform the DDL extracts and the data extracts from the Teradata system. So it's really, as you can see, this is the longest or the most time consuming and the most risky step in the whole migration process, an automated tool will really help mitigate a lot of the risks. The next comes the step where you actually choose an SI partner. As we have gone through this, it's a really complex task to migrate out of Teradata. It really needs a good SI partner who has proven expertise in the past, who have done it before, and also approaches the migration in a phased manner to mitigate risks and maximize the probability of success in terms of migration. At Actian, we partner with all of the leading SIs who have done Teradata migrations in the past, including HCL, which is an investor in Actian, and help you really be successful in bringing a right partner to help you migrate through to the next gen cloud data warehouse. The next step is to actually do the development of the migration and both of the schema as well as the data. What you really want to do in this step is use the automated tool, but also minimize the changes to the upstream and downstream application code as much as possible. So let's say you use an Informatica or a data stage to move data in to Teradata. Typically, what data stage Informatica would do is produce a flat file which it dumps in a data lake or in a staging environment. And those scripts and the processes don't have to change, right? Because it is a flat file that gets consumed by Teradata scripting in the process. But what the tool needs to do is to convert the data load capabilities that is native to Teradata, whether you use a fast load or any such utilities, the migration tool will help you define and convert those scripts directly into Avalanche or Actian format so that you can automatically upload the flat files without much coding exercise to process the data, right? It also helps identify components to migrate, and the components and the artifacts include tables, stored procedures, and scripts that could potentially used by downstream applications like a Tableau or a Click as well. What is also important to migrate is the existing users and the profiles of the users, including security policies, into the target system. So those don't have to be reinvented. And a lot of these policies would not be documented well. So a tool like what we provide would really help do that. And one of the important phases is as the tool identifies and lists out all the tables, it's important to identify a lot of the junk data that might have collected inside the Teradata system over a period of time and really not migrate that junk data out. This could be temporary tables, some user schema that might not be needed anymore. So things like that needs to be identified in the process so that you can really speed up the whole migration. The important thing and the next step is to actually build the target environment. So in this thing, it really needs a good collaboration between the customer and Actian and the SI partner to help you with the journey to the cloud. A lot of the customers right now are being forced directly to go from a Teradata or an on-prem environment natively to a managed service because the managed cloud data warehouse service providers only exist in the cloud or in a specific cloud like AWS or only on Azure or AWS. It's really hard to do that, right? We all know that. So what Actian provides is a flexible approach and a flexible migration path based on your current needs and also help you with your future needs, whether it's in cloud or in the hybrid cloud. So one of the paths is obviously natively to a managed service in a multi-cloud environment. So Avalanche can replace the Teradata data warehouse in an AWS or an Azure environment if you so choose to go directly to the cloud from an on-prem deployment. But typically, our customers choose the hybrid cloud approach where they run a majority of the workloads, once it's migrated on-prem. But some of the workloads like marketing and hyper-personalization type workloads, which are more newer and greener in the cloud, and then eventually over a couple of years migrate from on-premise to the cloud and have a balance and still execute in a hybrid manner but have a balance of workloads which run on-premise and in the cloud. And only Avalanche can offer that hybrid nature because compared to a Snowflake or a Redshift, which can exist only in the clouds, we have the same environment and the same engines running on-prem. So you can really enable multi-cloud and hybrid cloud queries and approaches. And one of the key things that we employ is a federated query approach so that we can federate queries between clouds across the Avalanche deployments that happen there. Some of our customers also choose directly on-prem. I just want to do a lift and shift and really modernize my data warehouse environment, but I really need to stay on-prem. And that is another choice for us as well. Now that we have done it, like we really need to start building the environment. One of the criteria or the main criteria is listed over here, right? You really need to size the environment that you want to build for migration success and not really plan for peak loads. With Avalanche, you can really expand elastically later on and invest later on if needed for peak loads, and you can burst to the cloud as needed. But you really want to size the environment to make the migration successful. Think about offloading workloads to the cloud as you do this so that you can really say like how much do I want on-prem versus what I want in the cloud, and size and purchase equipment as well as licensing accordingly so that you can ensure that your SLAs are still complied with as how the Teradata environment used to operate. Now it's really time, now that we have set up the environment and you have the schema as well as the conversion scripts already, it's time to perform the data extract and load. And as you can see here, we really have a good methodology working with the SI partners in terms of migrating from Teradata. So you can use the Teradata native fast export process to actually extract the tables and the schema out and stage it in a staging environment. And with Avalanche, we use Spark loaders, which load data in parallel, as well as creating the schema. We use Spark loaders to load data into Avalanche once it is extracted out. In this particular case, we show an example of how the data was extracted out to an S3 bucket, and we load the data in parallel into Avalanche from the staging area. Staging is key so that you actually separate out the process and then de-risk the whole migration properly. So this is our standard methodology that we use to migrate data out. As a final step, once you get through all of this, is the actual modernization. With Avalanche, the possibilities are really endless, right? So the main thing is don't mix the migration and the modernization into one large step. And that is the main cause for a lot of the failures that have happened in the past. Do the migration first, and then start thinking about all of these steps in terms of modernization. First is obviously to optimize and tune for the new SLAs that you could create with a modern data warehouse like Avalanche. Now you can start building modern data pipelines, whether it's on Spark or Presto or any of your data pipeline provider of choice or technology of choice. Now you can start building new data pipelines and expand as you can do elastically with Avalanche, and start building out new use cases in terms of analytics and data science. The elastic scaling and the cloud bursting capabilities really give you the agility that you need to provide to your business users as well as data scientists, so that they are not really waiting on instances to be provisioned, as these could be done in an instant. And also with Avalanche, you can really create sandbox environments pretty quickly and provide those to your users so that they can really become productive in a quick manner rather than having to wait for provisioning and IT processes and so on. Building HA and DR practices can be done in a modernization exercise once the migration is done. And you can really start thinking about this with our partners and scale out the environment and provide for the SLAs that you need to provide to your customers. So those were the details on the steps, and a lot of the secrets are pretty simple, right? If you think about it, don't mix migration and modernization. Don't build for peak loads. Really think about a hybrid nature in which you want to operate, and don't get locked into any particular managed service provider. And that's exactly what we can provide at Active. So here are some of the best practices just to summarize, right? Do it in a phased approach. Mitigate the risks and maximize the probability of success by taking a phased approach, and the 7 phases is what I described there. Really important thing again is don't migrate the junk data. What really has business value in the current environment is what you need to move and migrate, and just archive the rest. Keep it around, but you don't really need to migrate them. Have a clear performance requirement in terms of what you had with Teradata and what you want to go for with the future. This will really help you define the SLAs going forward and really challenge your business users as well as your IT to come up with the next generation thinking that's needed now that you have really migrated to a modern cloud data warehouse. Always have a well-conceived rollback plan in case there are contingencies. There will always be some business contingency that comes up that you need to put in place. And a good SI partner will really focus on this particular step to make sure the business continuity happens. And also definitely involve your customers and your business partners in the validation so that both the upstream and the downstream systems would function properly once the migration is complete. So now that you understand a lot of what it takes, I just want to highlight in a couple of slides what at Actian we provide to really reduce the risk and help you with the whole migration part. Avalanche, when deployed in a hybrid deployment capability, can really leverage its innovative federated query, as you can see at the bottom there, capacity that enables Avalanche to simultaneously access data and query in multiple Avalanche domains. This is really key because now you can really not rely on a particular location or a particular service provider in terms of running your data warehouse. You can put it wherever you want and distribute your workloads accordingly, whether you want to run it on-prem or in the cloud. And this is a key differentiation that you cannot currently have with Teradata. We really reduce the risk for you to go at your own pace in terms of how you want to do cloud adoption and not rely on or do like a lift and shift approach, which introduces a lot of risks. As I talked about, we provide flexible migration paths in terms of 3 different paths that you want to do, whether it's totally to the cloud or in a hybrid nature, as well as a completely an on-prem solution. Over 90% of the scripts will be automatically migrated. Whatever runs in the current Teradata data warehouse will be automatically migrated to Avalanche with a 90% rate, and the last 10% will be manually migrated, whether it's schema or data or stored procedures or UDFs, right? So that 90% automatic migration really improves the success rate and reduces the risk a lot. We do, like I said, engage with strategic partners to enable the migration. And also, as you can see in these boxes, you really don't need to change your data sources or the ETLs, or on the downstream side, the data science tools and the BI tools that currently work with your Teradata environment. We can work with all of the existing tools that are popular, which we actually certify with. So you don't really need to make any changes or really minimize the changes for the upstream and the downstream tools that you use. And that really improves the success of the migration that you're looking for. Finally, just a quick in-depth look at what the Actian solution and the architecture looks like. So here is a high-level overview of the Actian architecture, and it's designed from the ground up for unique demands of the enterprise class, multi-cloud and computing environments that you're demanding. And it has the ability to seamlessly run on-premise as well as hybrid, like we talked about. The key to this architecture is the ability to easily fit and perform in an established legacy environment, which is key to you guys, right? And to minimize the disruption and maximize the actionable insight that we can produce across the organization. This is the result of a next generation high performance platform that is optimized for compute, memory, and storage. And it's the only platform built from the ground up for intelligent multi cloud hybrid environments. As you can see, it's broken down into 5 layers. The top layer is a persona based ecosystem tools where we really address the needs of the business analyst, data scientist, and the data engineer to really bring their tool of choice, because we support all of these tools using standard technologies like ODBC, JDBC with a .NET Python plugins, that they really can bring their tools of choice to work with a modern environment that really scales as well as integrates with the tools of their choice. We are performance optimized at the compute level, where we actually optimize by leveraging the CPU cache and using industry standard SQL, to support that, right? Vector processing is key, and this is one of the modern technology improvements that Avalanche has done, where we really leverage the CPU cache using L1 and L2, as well as really enhance this performance using vectorized processing rather than what the legacy data warehouses do. We are also intelligently optimized on the storage side, where we can scale elastically. And we can leverage any of your existing data lake implementations on-prem, whether it's HDFS or in the cloud using ADLS and EBS, and that's where we store our data. We also have inbuilt Spark integration to go access data from anywhere it might reside to anything that Spark supports, right? Any connectors that Spark supports. We also run on-prem as well as in AWS and Azure. So Avalanche gives you that hybrid nature and the hybrid capability that you're looking for, and it is delivered as a fully managed service. So with that, hopefully you guys have a good view into how Teradata migrations can happen, and it can be done in a successful manner. But it really needs a good partnership between you, the customer, as well as the target data warehouse in terms of what Actian provides, as well as with an SI partner. So hopefully you got some good insights into how to make this successful. And I'm really looking forward to working with all of you in a successful migration and a transition from legacy data warehouses like Teradata. All right. Thank you very much. And Pradeep, I'd like to open it up now for any questions that the viewers might have.
Thank you, Raghu. Just to remind viewers, you can enter your questions using the chat function on the right of your screen. I see some questions have already come in. Raghu, feel free to address them in the order you prefer.
Let's see here. Let me go through, and here is one. The question is, how long does it take to migrate a Teradata environment? I have a development, QA, and production, and it's about 140 terabytes of compressed data. The length depends on a few factors. Our approach to migration is that we will do an assessment phase where we actually bring in the schema conversion in the assessment tool. And that typically takes about 2 weeks to assess. And the output from that would determine the duration. In the past, we have taken anywhere from 3 months to about 6 months, depending on the complexity of the tasks. And like I said during the talk, the majority of the time is spent during the manual conversion of maybe 5 to 10% of the artifacts that we have to. So I would say anywhere from 3 to 6 months is what it takes to do a proper conversion. Thank you for that question. All right, let's go down. Here is another one. As a company, we have decided to move all of our data infrastructure and enterprise data warehouse to Azure, Microsoft Azure. What is your support for Azure? As I mentioned in the presentation, Actian Avalanche is a cloud data warehouse that is available as a fully managed service in the sense we operate, upgrade, monitor, performance tune, backup and recover, so on and so forth. The Actian Avalanche Cloud Data Warehouse environment fully hosted in Azure. We have leveraged the ADLS Gen 2 as our storage mechanism in Azure. And we use specific instances which are ideal for Actian Avalanche in Azure. So fully supported managed data warehouse in Azure. All right. Thanks again for that question. The other one, do you have any cost comparisons compared to TD, Teradata, with the Actian Avalanche as a service? Yes, we do. Typically, what we do is our customers have come to us during refresh cycles in when they have to go through refresh cycles in Teradata. Where they have either a floor sweep type operation happening or any kind of upgrades to subscription licenses happening. And what we have been able to do is beat the cost that it takes to upgrade to the latest Teradata environments by quite a good margin, and also show ongoing cost savings year over year in by moving to Actian Avalanche. So there is definitely cost benefits to it, and we can definitely get into the details as we go through this. Thanks for that question, and let me pick up one last one here. Let's see. I have a Netezza environment, and do you support Netezza migrations? Very good question. Thanks for that. The target solution and the methodology for the migration from Teradata and Netezza are pretty much the same as we talked about, but they have a little bit different considerations in terms of execution. So this is timely in the fact our VP of Sales Engineering, Paul Volmerang, will be presenting a webinar on this exact topic at Bright Talk on the 22nd of October. I do encourage you to listen to that particular topic.
Well, we don't see any more questions, so I think we can wrap it up there. Thank you everyone for viewing, and thank you Raghu for being such a great presenter. We hope you'll join us for a future presentation on this series. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.